Hey Rich homies, so I'm just doing a voiceover. You're not going to see my face because I didn't feel like showering today. So this is going to be a video on lower body mobility and what I do to warm up. Now this isn't necessarily set in stone what you have to do. It's something that I've started to implement and I've seen success in it. So first they're like kicking your legs up. I think they're called Frankensteins. And then I do a walking quad stretch and walk back and forth with that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about starting with dynamic stretching because, as I've said in previous videos, you want to start with dynamic stretching and then go on to more static stretching after you've done some dynamic stretching, or keep the static stretching till the end. And that's because you want to warm up your muscles and move them around instead of just swinging it across your body and stretching it. So after the quad stretch, I go into these hip openers, and you can do them either combined in one. So I kick it front, and when I go to the back, I kick it to the side a little bit. You can split those up into just kicking back and then swinging your leg to the side. And then I go on to some walking lunges. And when I'm holding my buttocks, I'm really feeling for that hamstring to be activated as I move, and also making sure my whole butt doesn't show to everyone at the gym. And so after I do some walking lunges, I went into a few more static stretches. Again, you want to do things that feel good to you and to your body. Some of these stretches I've got from other people. If you didn't know, I threw out my back senior year of high school. I went to physical therapist for a while. So some of those are from this. And I'm going to talk through a little bit more about the muscles and what you're doing while you're stretching. So this first movement deal here is going to be like a seated lunge, and I'm going to lunge into the stretch. Then I'm going to pull my knee up at one point to get the stretch down the other leg, and then I'm going to lean forward. Also, some of these are from like cheerleading and just knowing, like, doing cheer stuff. So when you are stretching, you want to hold a stretch for 7 to 10 seconds. And the reason for that is when you're looking at your muscles, so there's a muscle spindle, and then there's the Golgi tendon organ, the GTO. And so the muscle spindles is sensitive to lengthening and speed and like the rate of lengthening. The GTO reacts to tension. So when you are doing a stretch, after 6 seconds, the GTO overrides the muscle spindle. So that's why you want to hold it longer than 6 seconds, so 7 to 10 seconds, because you want to be able to fully get that stretch. So the muscle spindle causes reflexive contraction. It's monosynaptic, and that's happened when the muscle senses a stretch force. And then it also causes the antagonist to relax. So it's called reciprocal inhibition when it senses tension. This next stretch I'm doing is just like a pike position, and I do it with my toes pointed, and then when my toes flex. I even remember while I was doing this, I stopped like just after I felt a stretch, and then I was like, crap, I just learned that I need to hold it from 7 to 10 seconds. We always held things for 10 seconds in cheerleading, but I just learned about muscle spindles while studying for my CPT exam, so I was like, gotta put this to good use. Then I go on to a butterfly. Something to realize about a butterfly stretch is you don't want to be using your hands and pushing down on your knees. If you are going to push down, use your elbows, because too much force is just really not good for it. And you can even lean a little forward. Again, you want to do what's good for you. I am pretty flexible, so certain exercises feel good to me, while to you they could feel like you're in immense pain. And while stretching can be painful to a certain extent, you obviously don't want to be hurting yourself. So then I went into an open leg stretch and went down to both sides and putting my elbow on the inside of my knee, again to get more of that tension and that stretch. Then I lean forward to get again. So when I'm doing these stretches, what I'm trying to do is stretch, obviously, but also make sure my hip flexors and hip joints and all of that are in good working position. So why the hips are so important, especially on leg day, is because there are 21 major muscles involved in the actions of the hip joint. That's a lot of muscles. And the stretch right here is just a more of a hamstring / like glute stretch. But The actions of the joint include flexion, extension, internal rotation, external rotation, adduction, and abduction. So if you've ever seen those like hip machines that girls do, or like anyone can do real quick, this is just, again, another cheer stretch that I've always done, and it just feels good to me to be able to get that stretch through my hips and like just all through my leg. So doing what's good for you. But adduction and abduction, if you're ever confused about which one does which, adduction is you're adding to the body. So it's when you're bringing your legs in, and abduction is when you're going out. So perfect timing. I'm doing some abduction right here. You can either do it sitting down and just having your legs like in a chair position, or you can do it like this. I'm using my slingshot. It's in the description box. I got it from Amazon. But using this again, this is helping with my hip flexors, doing any kind of side lying leg raise. You can do it two ways. So I'm doing a clam dealio right here, and this is actually from my physical therapy. But if you were to do it with straight legs, no resistance band, and lay on your side and do a lying leg raise. Another way to help your hip flexors is doing a lying leg raise, but doing the bottom leg. So then the top leg is just bent over at the top. And then right here, you'll see me doing some hip thrusts. That is just another way for me to prime my muscles starting out. And if you've watched a previous leg day video from me, you'll see that I have primer exercises. So like a lying leg curl. And the reason I do primer exercises is first to get that mind muscle connection, to warm up my muscles. Things like a lying leg curl is going to help my hip extensors. So being able to warm those up as I'm going into it, especially because hip extensors, if you're going to be doing any kind of squats or climbing machine or anything like that, you want to get those warmed up. Again, those lying leg raises will not only help your hip flexors, but your hip abductors or adductors, depending on which way you do it. And again, those would also be good primer exercises, either with a resistance band or on the machines, lightweight. And then you see me standing up here and just doing side steps, again, for more of that abduction, because I'm stepping away from my body. All right, guys, that's all. If you enjoyed me talking more and giving more like science behind it, let me know, and enjoy some hip mobility.